no Nick Bosa at Niners OTAs on Tuesday, May 25th. The question was, I was like, why is Mayoko asking the question this? I mean, Mayoko. The question was, where's Nick? As in, like, where in the United States is Nick? Not why wasn't he on the field? And the answer is, glad he left it to the United States. In Florida, Kyle Shanahan said he's got a good setup out there. The guy who works out his knee is there. He's working out with Joey. We didn't want to take him off his routine. He is going to come out here at some point, but I think he said, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he said we're not going to put him on the field when he does come out here. We fully expect him to be ready for training camp. So it does sound like Nick Bosa will come out at some point, but they're not going to put him on the field before training camp.
Yeah, I wrote down, he said ready for training camp, which to me is a good thing. Now, it's easy to say that now. I would say, like, for me and you, that we're going to, obviously, we talk a lot about Nick Bosa. That, to me, is probably the biggest question mark going into training camp. Like, is he full go when training camp starts, or do they still have to ease him in? Because he had a pretty devastating knee injury, right? I wrote this down when Kyle said he's in Florida, everything's going great. It made you feel a little bit better, like he's out there with Joey. So clearly, Joey wasn't at Chargers practice yesterday. Not a great sign if you're the Chargers. Understandable if it's Nick. They're kind of treating him like an NBA player. Like, yeah, he's good enough. We know we need him. He's good. We talk. He's fine. Like, it had an NBA type vibe, which if you're going to get the LeBron, Steph Curry, James Harden type treatment, you better be that level player. And while he only played a year, I would say the equity that he earned in the year with Lynch and Shanahan, I would just say Niners coaching staff is probably pretty high. Like, he's so good that rookie year where no one even thinks it's that weird. Even
No.
like I'm making fun of the Chargers. They're like, yeah, Joey didn't want to come. What's anyone going to say? Right? It's like, yeah, he's our best player. Like, it's just both of those guys. Now, Joey has accomplished more, right? He's just played longer. And Nick's really only done it the year. But his rookie year was so impactful and so freaking good. In some of the biggest games, he was so dominant that you're like, yeah, we get it. Like, because I would not have had the same reaction. And I don't even know if Kyle would have. And when I say me, I just mean, like, I would be critical of it. I'm just saying the way Kyle talked about it and just kind of visually looked, didn't seem worried at all about just him not being there and thinking it was weird.
No, I remember they drafted him after he spent his time working out on his own, not playing with his football team for the most part, right? They drafted Nick Bosa. We know that Nick Bosa can be held accountable by his own self and maybe by his brother and his family or whoever trains him, his agent, whatever, right? Sometimes you worry about a player away from the team. Are they going to get better or are they going to get worse? We heard it a lot with college football last year, and college athletes are different than pro athletes. And part of this was COVID related, wasn't workout related. But I think if you talk to coaches in college, they'd say, yeah, we'd rather our guys be here, working out here with our trainers where we know the instruction they're getting, where we can just keep an eye on them. Nick Bosa, before they even drafted him, had established that Nick can be on his own. And when I say on his own, I don't mean actually by himself, but with his team and get himself ready, right? Because we saw that's what he did his rookie year. He was away from Ohio State. He was away from the team. And that was okay. He didn't get fat. He didn't skip workouts. He didn't get hurt on his own. He did get hurt once he came to the Niners. But, like, I think we also have a recent history with this guy of being able to do his own thing, and you count that when he shows up, in his case when he got ready for the draft, he's ready to roll. I think last year, remember, the talk coming into the season with him was that he felt like he was in better shape, given that the year prior he'd spent a lot of time doing kind of the draft circuit. And that all of that taxes your body. It just doesn't – you can't quite be in, fully dialed in shape when you have the draft, all the stuff that comes with the draft. So I think that's another part of this is, like, to your point, in a short amount of time, even though his availability has been – his lack of it at times unfortunate, I think he has pretty clearly established within the organization that he can be trusted. He can be trusted away from the team – to get his body and himself prepared.
And one area, and Kyle even mentioned this, where a lot of people, I know I would have been like, yeah, I got this one red flagged. He has Instagrammed and put out videos of himself working out. If we hadn't seen him and he wasn't around, I'd be like, I've been around this long enough. I can't take teams at the face value on top players being MIA, right? That would be a little concerning.
Yeah.
But I think we've seen enough videos of him just moving around, and Kyle mentioned that I think on purpose. Like, we're not trying to be, secretive here. This is not a CIA mission. We're hiding him out. Like, he tends to be pretty candid about whatever's really going on, and he was, like, with every question we'll get into later. But given that he has mentioned this player after the draft, and he just went on like the Eisens and those type guys, and he was mentioning about Bosa being important, right? And their defense, like, he's their best player, or I guess most important player, because he's a pass rusher. I think Fred, top to bottom, you could argue is their best player, but either way, like, if you have an elite pass rusher, that's a game changer for your franchise. Any team, right? Look at the Browns. Like, Myles Garrett became a star, and their defense, they feel like a powerhouse, right?
Look at Chase Young.
I mean, the Chargers, whenever I watch the Chargers and Bosa's on the field, like, Joey dominates. Khalil, when he was younger and pretty good, I don't know if maybe he'll be good again. He's kind of mailed it in. But, like, that matters a lot. Chase Young is a great example. And they just need this guy to be fully healthy. And clearly, I think part of it, too, is some players, you got to earn your stripes. If you've never been injured, I got to prove your toughness. I think with them, back to the NBA player, he's just going to get treated a little differently, right? Because he's been hurt now on their watch before they got him. They just know it's a pretty slippery slope with him, because his injuries, like, have been pretty devastating over the years. He had the ACL, I think, in high school. The thing you alluded to about him disappearing is the wrong word. I mean, him and Urban told him to go train on his own when he had the hernia surgery, but that was a major injury, right? And then this injury, like, that's just the hernia thing. And this, within basically, it feels like a year, but it's really more like 3. But it's a lot going on for a player, guy.
Yeah. And it also feels like more because he missed some time before his rookie season, right? In camp and OTAs, he had the hamstring, and then he had a second. Was the hamstring
Someone
first?
fell on his foot.
Yeah.
Remember?
Maybe that one was first, and then the hamstring.
No, I think the hamstring was first. The first day of full pads, remember, a dude, like, fell on his ankle, and it was like a high ankle sprain, and it was like, freak deal, and everyone's like, and it was. I mean, it's just the dude. I would say most injuries in the pile, like, it's unfair for a guy to get labeled as injury history. You're like, the dude ran into the back of my leg, and like Ronnie Stanley, you're like, the guy fell on my ankle. Like, what am I supposed to do? It is freak deal, but when you've been injured a lot, the freak deal, it feels like an injury history thing.
Yeah. So then he misses.
It's unfair, but it's the reality.
And again, we wouldn't be talking about it if he hadn't missed, most of 2020, which is what happened. And then I think the other thing that brings it up is just that Joey, clearly a star, but has played 2 full seasons in 5 years. And so, if I told
pretty sure his dad had an early injury. Remember? Like, he was supposed to be a big deal, and he had an injury, and that's why.
Yeah, I mean, he played 12 games, 6 games, 13 games, and that was it. I don't. We'd have
what round he was drafted in?
Dad Bosa was drafted in the 16th overall.
Joey Bosa's dad was a 16th overall pick. I did not know that. I would have guessed 3rd round.
In Rod Woodson's draft, Jim Harbaugh went 10 picks later.
Joey Bosa's dad went ahead of Jim Harbaugh. Did you know he was that highly drafted?
I probably had heard it one time because they had to be discussed over the course of the 2 drafts. But no, that was not. If you had asked me to guess, I would have said, closer to the 12th round than the 1st round.
So they had a dad that was 16th. They had a brother who was 3rd, and then Nick was 2nd. That's pretty incredible.
He's also got a grandfather who played from 60 to 66, a great uncle who played from 61 to 69, and a cousin who is in the league right now, Jake Kumaro.
Oh, that's the dude that the Packers cut that Rodgers was pissed about.
Yeah, yeah.
I thought I'd say the Mannings have him, right? Peyton went 1, Archie went 2, and did Eli went 1? Then it was a trade. That's probably as good as it gets.
Cooper's kid is still, Cooper's kid still has something to say about it.
If Cooper's kids end up going number 1, it'll be hard to beat 1, 1, 1, and 2. That would probably that will be hard to that might be unprecedented and unbreakable territory.
If right now I said to you, okay, you after 5 years of Nick Bosa, he's had Joey's availability, you wouldn't take that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think they're as quick to give the $100 million away as the Chargers were. I think Joey was more important to the Chargers brand than like obviously Nick from a football standpoint, but from a way the Niners operate financially, they're and right, you got to factor in football inflation.
It's not 100 anymore.
Bosa's no. I'm already a little nervous, but I'm king of this. Why is everyone like? It's like last year. Who was a rookie quarterback last year? We got to get ready for Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert's next contract. It's like, guys, they've played 1 year. They have 4 more years under that. Can we just take a deep breath? Bosa, you got to prepare for Bosa's contract. He's on year 3. We can play out year 4. If we need to, you can play out year 5. Like, what's the rush? But that's Josh Allen, Lamar, all going to get broken off this offseason. Do they have to? Or can everyone just play 1 more year out on a contract?
Yeah.
Mahomes is an all-time outlier, and I think everyone – you got to pay him.
There's a franchise tag.
But even that 5th-year option is worth a lot of money. Let's just take a deep breath.
This goes back to it's a good point. It goes back to my theory that I think most people like to talk about sports from the GM perspective. Not from the coach perspective, not from the player perspective. I think sports are most widely discussed from a GM perspective. How do we cut this guy? How do we trade this guy? How do we draft that guy? Like that is, I think, how most people view
what
sport.
would we trade for this? Let's get rid of this scrub for this guy.
Because that's more fun than like, who would you have up? Well, we need that 4th receiver to also be able to help us on special teams today. Like if we talked about it from a coaching perspective, you'd have a lot of those kind of nitty-gritty discussions, right?
Well, deep down, most people don't want to deal with the players and just other humans 24/7, 365. Like being a coach is hard. There's a lot of interactions with stuff you don't want to do. With GM, you're like, I'm just going to go play some golf today.
Most people would love to trade or cut coworkers,
Oh, my God. It's incredible.
Could you imagine?
Yeah, until you see the look on a guy's face, you feel bad for him.
Well, I know. That's why fantasy's great. You don't have to look anybody in the eye when you play fantasy.